Hi, my name's Keith, and from my perspective, today is really simple. If you're not doing something different, within 3 months from now that you look back to today as a result of this particular talk, and you say, gosh, it was because of that talk that I'm now changing this practice or doing something fundamentally different, then I will have failed you. All right, so that's the hurdle of success. So I could talk a lot about where I came from or what I did. You can read that on a bio. I'd like to talk about what I do and what's my passion. Today, my passion is that I run a research institute for changing human behavior in the workplace. It kind of happened interestingly enough. About 10 years ago, literally to this year, I wrote a book called Never Eat Alone. Some of you might have picked it up or read it. My mom and her 3 friends. That's great. Thank you. And after writing that book, Never Eat Alone, I knew that it was the formula to unleashing potential in your life. Because everything you want to hope, everything you want to do, everything you dream of, between here and there, people are going to be responsible and capable of helping you achieve that. And my book, Never Eat Alone, was the #1 book and has been for 10 years, and it's actually one of the best business book sellers in the last 50 years. And it's because of that critical component that people are the critical dimension of your success, and the question is, how do you navigate that? How do you build that rich, authentic, vulnerable network in your life, right? So I wrote this book, and at the time, I was chief marketing officer at Starwood Hotels. We invented the Starwood Star Preferred Guest Program, the Heavenly Bed, the W Hotel chain. Those are the kind of things that I was working on and leading in my corporate life. And then I went and I wrote this book, and all of a sudden, people started asking me to speak. People started to ask me to, and literally the book was the tipping point, asking me to speak, asking me for my opinion, asking me to come in and consult to their organizations, and I had to make a choice. Do I want to continue down the corporate path, or do I want to become an entrepreneur, really talking and evangelizing about something that I'm powerfully concerned about and interested in? So I went in that direction. And then I started working with people to try to unleash the potential of relationships in their lives, not as individuals, but in corporations. We managed the cultural transformation of General Motors coming out of bankruptcy. We coached every senior partner at Accenture in their development of billions of dollars worth of business within their network. So everything that we've done has been predominantly in large corporate B2B kind of work, is the business that I created for Ferrazzi Greenlight. And I got to tell you something. They pissed me off because I'd tell them stuff to do and they wouldn't necessarily do it. And I'd be like, wait a second, this really is inane. You know and agree as you're sitting here getting your training, you should do something, and you're going to leave here and you're not going to do it. So it started shifting my mind and my focus onto a whole different area, which is, why in the hell don't people do what they're supposed to do when they know what they're supposed to do? And so in addition to focusing, and here it was really interesting, and this is where it all kind of comes together. So my book told you that to build a great, authentic life, you need great, authentic relationships. Networking wasn't something you go out and work somebody, get something from. A networking event wasn't an opportunity to run around and pass out as many business cards as you possibly can, get a list of names, and use them and work them. Right? A lot of people think that's what networking is, but instead it was an opportunity to walk into a room and ask yourself, how do I make people successful today? How do I make people feel good about themselves today? How do I take my mission and find other people who could share that mission today? Right? And really realize that great networking and great relationships are born from generosity and authenticity. Right? Not what you can get out of somebody, but what you can give. Because that earns the permission as the foundation to build the real relationship where you can build great things and partnerships and co-create off of it. Does that make sense to folks? So with that in mind, I started a research institute for changing human behavior. And I went out and I started working with some people from the Gallup organization and a bunch of others. And here's what we interestingly found. When I took these people who I wanted to teach to do something, and I organized them into small groups of 4. And in the same training, I said, just for the hell of it, this small group of 4, you're going to commit to making each other successful during this training. Not only are you going to commit to doing that while you're here in the training, but you're going to commit that for the next month, the commitments you make while you're here, you're going to commit to call each other every week and see if they're doing those commitments, right? And all of a sudden, guess what happened? We went a lift of about 30% of the business outcomes that we were looking for from what we were previously getting, because when two people look at each other in the eye and say, yeah, I'll commit to doing that, right? You increase about 30% the likelihood that someone's going to do it. People will change for other people before they'll change for themselves. Right, does that make sense to you? How many of you have, know what you need to do, but you don't do it? And we sit and we do it anyway, but on the other hand, if you make a commitment to somebody, how many of you try to honor your commitments? Right, not that guy. He's like, no. So that built my second book, Who's Got Your Back? Because Who's Got Your Back, fundamental research, after 5 years of research on that book, what we realized is that the fundamental tipping point of success isn't just people, but the fundamental tipping point of success is, do you have 3 people who won't let you fail? Now, 60% of Americans say that no one has their back. 60% of Americans say that no one has their back, of which 50% of those individuals are married. Right? So, no wonder we have the divorce rate that's above 50%. Now, someone who has your back has 4 fundamental attributes. Number 1, they care. Lots of relationships care. Number 2, they will work their ass off to make you successful when you're not around. They'll be thinking about you, they'll be understanding you, and they'll be working on your behalf when you're not around, making you successful. Ooh, now we start to have a shortfall. Don't have to raise your hand, but how many people know very dear friends that you would have hoped would care enough to help you be successful and understand your dreams and goals, but that's not their priority? Unfortunately, how many of you are married to that person? Keep your hands down. You understand what I'm saying? Are you really partners? Are you really partners with the most important relationships in your life? Are they caring about your success and helping you through that? And then, on the basis of the foundation of that relationship, what's then more important is how many people really tell each other the truth. We all know that the truth and the abundance of truth and the wisdom of the people around us is going to be the critical dimension to you breaking through your challenges, because people will see you in the micromanagement, the micro moment of doing something wrong, and somebody will say, hey, wait, stop, I love you, I care for you, I know where you want to go. Stop that. I love you, I care for you, I know where you want to go. How about trying this? But instead, we're conflict avoidant. Conflict avoidance is the number 1 eroder of shareholder value. We're finishing the research now based on large corporations and executive teams that have a high degree of conflict avoidance, people who won't tell the truth in a meeting. How many people have been in meetings where you leave the meeting and that's when the real conversation starts? You hear that? You hear that? That's because that's so true to us, and in reality, that's the greatest eroder of shareholder value. Now, if you're the kind of person and you're the kind of leader that does not walk into a room creating an environment around themselves, creating the relationship that people will tell you the truth, guess who's mediocre? You are. If you are creating an environment around yourself that is not inviting the horrible, difficult, challenging truth, guess who's going to be mediocre? You are. Now, who wants to hear that? Who wants to hear the truth? And by the way, because most of them are wrong. At least that's what we think, but who cares? Just because they're wrong doesn't mean you shouldn't be hearing information, because they're acting on that information. If they believe you don't give a damn just because you're shy, and they say, and you don't know that they don't think you give a damn, then you can't fix it. Even if you're shy and somebody thinks you don't give a damn, if they don't tell you that they don't give a damn, that they don't think you give a damn, then you can't say, no, I'm sorry, I'm just shy. I'm just shy. It's difficult for me to have these kind of conversations. If you don't hear the truth, you can't break through your struggles and challenges. And then the 4th element of Who's Got Your Back formula is, who is giving you butt-kicking accountability? Damn it, you said you were going to have that conversation with your boss and you haven't. Damn it, you said you were going to go to that thing and you haven't. Damn it, you said, who's going to hold you accountable, keep your feet to the fire, and not let you fail? Those are the people that have your back. Intimacy, generosity, candor, and accountability. That's my son. I got him when he was 12. It's a very difficult pregnancy. Got him when he was 12, foster boy. He's from Long Beach. And that's him today. That looking on the left, that little boy is saying, you are not going to hurt me like the 21 other homes I was in before I came to you. 21 homes. I get shivers thinking about what that boy's gone through. And we're still dealing with it, even though that's him on the right. And the evolution of that young man is amazing. I still deal with that reptilian brain, which is what every one of you has. Every one of you has a reptilian brain, which is the fight-flight mechanism of your life. That brain that's saying, you're unsafe. That brain that when you walk into that big deal, actually subtly self-sabotages you because you don't think you deserve it. Keeps you away from the people that are actually the people that you need to embrace in this world to have the kind of success you want. That reptilian brain that sees tribal them, and you're running around as a tribe of one, is you're your only us. We're all tribal beings, and all I'm trying to do in this world is unleash the very DNA nature of every person in this room. You want to be in a tribe. You want to have your people. You want to have a group of people that won't let you fail, and you don't because you are a tribe of one, and you're afraid that everybody else is a tribe of them. Or you have pockets of it. I got this clique, I got that clique. And the reality is we've got to be realizing that we can be as vulnerable and as humble and as open to invite the people of the world in with us. And as I say to my boy, prejudice is going to hold you back. The prejudgment that you have that other people won't accept you is going to hold you back. Now you thought I was going to the race side. He doesn't care about that. His prejudice is he doesn't have parents and therefore he'll never fit in. All we want is for him to see us as his parents. And it's right there in front of him, and he still pushes it away for fear he's going to get hurt after all these years. How many of you can understand that young boy's mindset and have your own little elements of it? Amen. We all do. We all do. Coaching is very rare and difficult these days. And it's what you have to recognize is that the old comfort of knowing what your job was every day is gone. Any given day you walk in, your world of work is nothing more than goals you have and a bunch of people you got to work with to get them there. Think about that for a second. The world of work is outcomes that you have to achieve and a network of people that you're going to have to work with to get there. That, by the way, is your team. And every goal you have, you got a different team. Now, I was with a young lady the other day from a bank, and I said to her, how's your team? And she's like, oh, they're struggling. I was like, tell me what you mean. She goes, well, I go into this one meeting, and myself and two of my folks are in there, and we got 3 people who are really critical of the project, and 2 people that didn't even show up. And then I go to another meeting, got another thing I got to do, and I got my 2 folks again in, and there's a couple other people there from other groups, and then there's people that just don't show up. And I said, yeah, how's your team? And he was like, well, the 3. I was like, no. I asked you how your team is. The problem is she didn't see that her team were those 12 individuals. That's her team, and she's the leader. Every one of you that has hopes, dreams, and goals has a team, has a bunch of teams. And some of those people don't even want to be in the room with you. What are you going to do when your own team doesn't want to be in the room with you? You got to be a better damn leader. You got to lead through influence. You got to lead through generosity. You got to lead through authenticity. You got to be the kind of person that other people want to hang out with. Now, what if that's not you? The end of the day, if you don't take responsibility for your team, you're going to be mediocre. So what I want you to think about right now for the rest of this talk is, think of 2 team members who don't report to you, maybe don't even have a desire to work with you, maybe they don't even know you yet. Think of 2 team members that you want to begin to enlist today. And I want you to write down the names of 2 individuals that you're going to go make them a part of your team. Think of a goal you have. How many of you are single? All right, do you have a wingman? I mean, if you're single, you need a team. I don't care what the damn goal is. I don't care if it's making money, selling stuff, running a business, whatever it is. If you've got a goal, you need a team. Who's your team? And I want you to write down for any goal you have, just 2 individuals. Forget it. Make one. Think of one person right now. Every single person in this room, think of one person who you're going to invite in your team. You got it? Everybody got it? You have it, young lady? Okay. So now that we have that, I am not going to tell that story because I don't have time. But the story that I would have told if I had the time was a story about a wonderful woman who changed my life when I was young. I was 10 years old. My dad was unemployed for 6 months. We were an unemployed, steelworking family, immigrant family from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh? There we go. Awesome. My old man said, Keith, you got to get a job. I'm 10. I'm like, I get it, Dad. Mom had to go work cleaning houses. She made $20 a day. And I knew that if I went to the local country club, I could make $20 a day carrying golf clubs. Right? And I said, awesome, I could do this for the family. I could do this for myself. I go up there, and Dad goes, oh, show up at the golf course half an hour early. I'm like, Pop, why would I do that? There's nobody there. He said, show up at the golf. He didn't even listen. Show up at the golf course half an hour early. When my dad started repeating stuff, I knew just to do it. I called it immigrant Tourette's. It made no sense to me, but I just did it. So I show up at the golf course half an hour early, walking around, and what I'm realizing is that I knew as a result where the pins were placed, I knew how the greens were cut. This was Latrobe Country Club, Arnie Palmer's course, God bless him. And this was an advantage I had, and I didn't realize that until Mrs. Poland, after the 5th time she had me as her caddy, consistently asking me time and time again to be her caddy. Most of the time, you'd get out once or twice, and I got up there, and she was getting me out as a caddy like every day for the week. And it was freaking me out. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm making all this money. And she says, Keith, one of these days, I want you to come home with me, and I want you to meet my son. I'm like, this is getting creepy. By the way, this is not a Mrs. Robinson story, or it's not going there. And I said, she said, what do you want to do with your life? I said, well, I don't know, I want to go to college. I had a dream, but I wasn't sharing it with her because I hated rich people. Really did. Rich people were scary. Rich people's kids made fun of me at school for the clothes that I had. I wanted to have nothing to do with them. And one day she said, Keith, damn it, what do you want to do with your life? I've been asking you these questions and you're just ignoring me. I said, well, I know you're going to laugh, but my dad says if I study real hard and I work real hard, I could be president of the United States. Like anybody can, right? Anyway. And she said, you know what, you could, and I would vote for you. 2 weeks later, she had the local congressman, Murtha, in her foursome. Congressman Murtha took me under his wing, said that I should get into speech and debate, got me resources for Lincoln Douglas debate and research that I wouldn't have had access to otherwise, gave me full access to his offices. Within 2 years, I had won the National Speech and Debate Tournament as a little kid, and that got me into Yale University. There would have been no way that path would have happened if Mrs. Poland hadn't been persistent to say, what do you want to do with your life? Now, why did I push her away? The same reason every one of you sees somebody important, every one of us sees somebody important, we don't want to go up and talk to them. My dad used to say, worst thing could always have to ask, the worst thing anybody could say is no. But there's all of these limiting factors. I call them glass ceilings. There's all these glass ceilings that all of us has because the tapes, the psychological tapes that we play that stop us from being successful. I'm sure a lot of much better speakers than me have been telling you about that, but I'll tell you something, you're not going to break through them by yourself. These are addictions, by the way. An addiction is a behavior you practice repeatedly that doesn't serve you, and you keep doing it anyway. You have addictions that are keeping you mediocre, and everybody, including me, damn it, is mediocre because all of us could be greater. Every one of you in this room could be greater. I can be greater. There's not a speaker in this. I know these guys, right? There's not a speaker up here that shouldn't be and can't be greater than they are. We all have our stupid limiting tapes, and we can't do it by ourselves because we got there by ourselves. We need to hold hands with a group of individuals that won't let you fail. Who's your posse? They'll help you break through. We'll call you on those micro moments when you're doing stuff that you shouldn't do. Does this make sense to you? So now the second name I want you to write down is who you're going to enlist to be your posse. Not your team that you've reached out to enlist, etc. But now I'm talking about who's going to be what we call your lifeline relationship. Who's going to be your lifeline relationship? Now, at the end of the day, I didn't become president of the United States. But I did decide to go into business. And what I learned along the way, meandering, was that I could fulfill everything that I wanted to fulfill through the work world, which is really, at the end of the day, feeling purposeful and meaningful by making a difference in people's lives. For me, it was either going to be a minister or a politician. Those are the only two things I could do. And my dad wouldn't let me be a minister because he said, I'm not paying for all that education if you're going to go and only be a minister and not make any money. So I said, okay, well, I can have people not just one day a week on Sunday, I can get them 5 days a week by being a great leader. And that's what every one of you has the potential to be. Adopting this mindset, you can walk around the world leading your parish. Independent of what you believe in, you can lead a parish of the people that you create an environment with, invite in, and co-create great things. And I created a new word for it. And I call it co-elevation, because collaboration just isn't enough. So co-elevation is the word, and co-elevation is the contract that we have with the most important people in our lives. The first thing you have to recognize that if you want to co-elevate, whether it's with that lifeline relationship, which you've already identified is close enough to you, that you have named that person as a potential lifeline, or it's that person who in your life you've decided, I want to bring into my team that they might not even think they're on my team right. I've given you two names to think about. I want you to go create a co-elevation contract. And here's the thing, they don't have to play with you. A co-elevation contract's all on you. Your job is to recognize that 100% of the relationship is your responsibility. Let's think about Daniel for a second. That young man, what if I had said, you know what, honey, let's not really bend over backwards for him. Let's wait till he meets us halfway. Where do you think that boy would have been? Where do you think the success of I had to meet that boy 99.9999999% of the way. And it still didn't work all the time because it's all on me. Do you want to be successful? You meet them 99.999% of the way. Now, how do you do that? Why did Mrs. Poland do all the great things for me? Because she liked me, yes. Because she was from that side of the tracks, yes. I can say all the things, but I'll tell you why. I took 2 strokes off her golf score. That's why she did it. Real simple. There's lots of good kids in that caddy yard, but because I showed up at the golf course a half an hour early for her, I didn't do it on purpose. My dad probably didn't even know what he was saying. But I showed up at a half an hour early at the golf course, and as a result, Mrs. Poland saw in me something she didn't see in anybody else, and she invested in me because I took 2 strokes off her golf score, literally. Now, if you've got somebody on your list right there, those 2 names, your job is to show up a half an hour early at the golf course for them. It's not a balance sheet item. It's not when you're like, okay, I just done this, now go. I'm still waiting for Daniel to become the young man that I'd like him to be in our relationship, but I keep showing up 99.9% of the way because I made a commitment as a father. And what does that mean to me? That means something to me. And even if he doesn't want to respond, even if he wants to sabotage himself, that's his deal. My deal is being a great father. That's my commitment. And I'm going to pass out of this world knowing I've been a great father, even if he doesn't accept that. And that's his issue. Now, at some point, you do have to walk away from relationships. I've walked away from Daniel for months. I've let him at 18 years of age utilize what he could use, which is his ability to go out of the house and be on his own. I've let him do it. But doesn't mean that I'm still not working 99% of the way. Does that make sense to people? It's all on you. And then, as I just mentioned, it's all about them. Not about you yet. It's all on you, and it's all about them. Step 1 and 2 of a co-elevating relationship. Step number 3 is that when at some point is the right time, and you say to that person, what do you want your dreams and goals to be? Now, in the back of your head, you're like, wait a second, what about me? When did they start worrying about my dreams and goals? Not yet. You say to them, what do you want your dreams and goals to be? Daniel wants to be a rapper. Okay? I've met Q, I've met Quincy before. Maybe I can go get some connection there, make some introductions. I showed up, I started going to rap, like things, which is not, I like country music. I'm from Pittsburgh, right? I'm definitely not a rap guy. But I started showing up at rap things, and I saw this really cool dreadlocked, cool dude. And he's like chilling with my son. I'm like, wow, that's great. I went up to him and said, what are you doing? He's like, I'm a rapper. I'm like, what do you make money from? He's like, Uber. I'm like, cool. I said, how'd you like to move in for a year and be my son's rap coach? And it did. I mean, we went around the world together with this little African-American Mexican kid, myself, my Asian fiance, and this dreadlocked rapper. I'm sure people watched us get off a plane and were like, what a lovely family. But at the end of the day, I went 99.9% of the way, and here's what I said. Daniel, I want you to be a great rapper. I'm going to invest in that. And by the way, Daniel, there's some things I do that I can maybe teach you because I made a lot of mistakes in my life. And some of those mistakes are this, and this. Here's the thing I'm not doing well as an entrepreneur, and da-da-da-da. So I went on a humble, shared journey of development with my co-elevation partner that didn't even know he was a co-elevation partner. I started revealing myself of my frailties, my humility, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all just in the journey. Because that's what approaches us and makes us willing to have you listen to us. The good ones of us know that if we don't share where we're struggling, then you'll know we're not telling you the truth. And that's what you need to do in your co-elevation partnerships. Go on a shared, humble journey and start leading with that vulnerability, and maybe they'll start cracking open, and the very things that have been pissing you off might be the things that they then share to you and say, like Daniel did one day when I came home and I said, Daniel, oh, geez, I did a stupid thing at work today. I got upset because sometimes when I start having struggles in the workplace, I used to have a temper and I don't anymore. I've worked that out. And the reason I used to is because I have a scarcity mindset, unfortunately, not a growth mindset at the core, and I'm working on a growth mindset. And because I've always been poor, when little things happen, I see 20 dominoes fall in my head, and at the end of it is me not paying rent. I got upset. And I screwed something up that it's going to take me 2 months to before this person is going to trust me again. And he stopped playing his video games and he said, I do that too. And we had probably one of the best conversations we've ever had. Right? We've got to open ourselves up to be on the journey with our people. Next thing and the last thing, and I'm out of time. I wish I could spend a lot more time with you. Is candor is your key. Transparency, honesty, openness. No conflict avoidance. You got to have an agreement with this person. But you have to have built the foundation, the intimacy, the generosity, the I give a damn gives you the permission for, I give a damn, may I tell you that I think you have your head up your ass. Right? But but that under part of I love you so much, I need to tell you something even if I'm not right. That has to be there. Because what happens is we stand up on a podium and we look down and say, you're not right. How's that going to be received? We came up with a metric called porosity, which is the absorptive nature of a person. And how are you capable of making another person porous is all directly linked to your capacity to be vulnerable yourself. Candor. Anyway, there's a lot of other stuff. The most important one, I'm sure you've heard a lot about it, is celebrate the hell out of everything. As you're going on a co-creation journey with these people, I want you to applaud everything. Some people have a problem. Oh my gosh, they're 80% wrong. Why would I applaud the 20%? They're going to think they're good. That was my problem, because I never got applauded when I was young. I got yelled at a lot. Celebrate everything, because you want to be the kind of person that people keep coming back at. One time I was celebrating a friend of mine, an acquaintance. I was like, God, Luke, you're amazing. I'm so excited about the things you've been doing. I've always loved what you've been up to, et cetera, et cetera. One of my best friends who was sitting next to Luke starts moving over and pushing Luke aside. I'm like, Tony, what are you doing? He goes, I've just always wanted to have those words aimed at me once. For me, the people I love the most are the people I'm hardest on. I need to learn how to celebrate every little thing, because that's what's going to make people want to be in that light and hear what you have to say. I learned this from my mother. My mother had a group of ladies called Card Club Girls. For 45 years, they met every single month and played cards together. And that group of ladies used to make food for us when we were unemployed. And my dad was out looking for work and would bring it down so that my mom would make it seem like we had put two pieces, of money together and been able to put food on the table, when in actuality it was their generosity. That group of ladies sat on the edge of my aunt's bed 2 days before she passed away of breast cancer and said goodbye to her, playing cards one last time. That group of ladies made sure my mom got out of the house every day for months after my dad died, when she didn't want to get out of the house. And when I heard about that, I realized I don't have that. I have a lot of work to do. And I've been on that journey. Humbly, lots of brokenness, but lots of success. These are basic principles. You've got two people to co-elevate with now. And I hope you go out from here and 3 months from now you look back and say, I'm doing it.